live today is how to stay grounded when life gets overwhelming, when it feels overwhelming, and sometimes that's how life feels. I believe I ground every morning. I don't know about you. Do you ground? What does that mean to you? For me, grounding means getting settled, getting comfortable, getting ready, maybe making a connection with nature, and just reaching a place of peace within myself. That's what grounding means to me. Grounding is all about what we need to do to come back to ourselves when things feel a little bit too much, when it all feels a little bit overwhelming. It's important that we come back to being ourselves, that we resettle. And hopefully, part of grounding is being a better version of yourself. It's being better than before, wiser than before, more cautious than before, making decisions that you hadn't made before, facing challenges that you maybe before would have run away from, and that's all a part of grounding. Well, anyway, welcome to the live, and I really want to greet you, say thank you for joining. I know you're coming, you're on your way. Wonderful. Welcome to the live, Lina. How lovely to see you. It's my second time here, and I can't do any of the TikTok stuff, so I can't do clapping. It's a really different environment, but thank you so much for joining me on this new venture. Thank you so much for your support. Now, look, have you had a day when everything feels too much, where it just feels overwhelming? There's too much noise, too much pressure, too many expectations, maybe expectations you have on yourself. Maybe you've expected something of yourself and you haven't been able to fulfill it. Oh, Lynn has found the heart button. Thank you. Those expectations that you have just put too much pressure on you. You feel as if I'm not achieving, I'm not accomplishing, I'm not making it, I'm not getting there, but you are. Let's talk about how you can take your power back. And on those days or at those times when you feel as if you're getting nowhere, that maybe you're just pedaling and pedaling and pedaling, like the duck with the feet underwater, but feeling as if you're not moving forward. You're doing all the actions, but nothing's happening for you. And you just feel overwhelmed by it all. Let's talk about getting the power back, being able to pull everything together and powerfully move ourselves forward. What overwhelms you most these days? Lina, are you able to tell me in the chat? I don't know if you know how to use the whole YouTube live thing, but if you're able, do feel free to tell me, if you wish, what is something that overwhelms you or stretches you a little bit these days? What might that be? Thank you to those of you who've joined the live. Thank you so much. But my question is, what overwhelms you? What stretches you these days? What makes you feel a little bit overwhelmed? What makes you feel as if, I don't know if I can do this? I feel a little bit powerless. I know lying in bed this morning, I've planned a huge vacation at the end of the year, and it's going to involve a lot of sightseeing. And I know at the moment, I was out yesterday at the Tate Modern and it was brilliant. And I thought, well, boy, this is one sight I saw today, but I struggled. Nothing so far, maybe just your clingy baby. I hear you. Thank you. And I was thinking, well, you know what? At the moment, I think I'm going to have to improve my physical strength, my abilities. I thought I need to go for a long walk every day. But I needed to step back and to lay in bed this morning and just to think about what do I need to do to improve that situation. And that was a form of grounding. And then I went down and I spent some time with my plants. So I do apologize. I said I'd be here at 9. I was with the plants and I give the plants human attributes. They are like my plant babies. You need this teaching in future in case, absolutely. Do you know what, Lina? We all do. And this is the whole thing. We are, Motivation Nation is about you getting motivated, but also being able to cope and manage when things become challenging. When you encounter somebody who's feeling a sense of overwhelm, when you can see the pressure, then you'll be able to offer them some comfort. You'll be able to offer them some understanding. And you might, knowing their situation, be able to offer them a practical step. So it's a wonderful opportunity to learn so that in future you can help others. I love the way you've grasped that. But I've noticed always, Lina, you totally have understood the whole thing from the very beginning. You've grasped exactly what I was putting down. You've always picked it up. Thank you so much. When someone is overwhelmed, when they are stressed, when they are distressed, what they really need to know is that they don't need to control everything. You really don't. this desire that to get everything under control, to get everything under wraps, to get everything manageable can be unrealistic, because in life there are some things we will never be able to control. But instead, what we can control is just getting our next breath. Getting your breath is a huge part of grounding. And it's really important that we breathe. And you might think, Jeanette, what are you talking about? I'm breathing now. There's breathing, and then there's breathing. There's breathing, just letting that air in and out, in and out, in and out. And then there's breathing and controlling your breath and using your breath as a mechanism and a tool for self control, for managing your body, for grounding yourself, for relaxing, for beginning to be calm, for beginning to center, for beginning to get peace. In our life today, we're going to do a short breathing exercise. I'm going to give you 10 grounding tips, and then we'll do a visualization, and I'll ask you to reflect on some questions that I'm going to put out. So the 10 tips, bear with me, please. Wonderful. What I would love you to do by the end of this live is to have a sense, hi, Eternity, lovely to see you. Congratulations on making it. You are so welcome. Peace, love, and light to you and Lina and everyone else who is here this morning. Peace, love, and light to you all. Thank you so much for joining the live this morning. Today, I want you to recognize that it's important that you feel seen, you feel soothed, and you feel supported. If sometimes it becomes overwhelming, I want you to know that that is recognized, it's understood, it's a part of what happens in this world, and that it's really important that we begin to learn how to slow everything down and to reconnect with what matters. And here is the essential part of grounding. Grounding is about slowing it down and reconnecting with what really matters, what's really important. Because sometimes when we are in a place of stress and panic, we forget what our priorities are. We forget what the important things are. And so it's important we recognize we don't have to control everything. And that's where I was going. You don't have to control everything in life. But when you're panicked, when you're overwhelmed, when you're not grounded, you'll feel as if you do. You'll feel as if you should. You'll feel as if it's also out of control. But what you need to control is your next breath. So we're going to do a calming breathing exercise. We will do some grounding tips. We're going to do a beautiful visualization, respond to some reflective questions, and have a powerful affirmation to carry us forward. And I am Coach Jeanette. I'm a wellness coach. And today we're doing a wellness session together. And you are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sending you peace, love, and light wherever you are right now. This is a good place to be. Now, here are 10 ways to ground yourself, okay? Just to get grounded. And when things in life are overwhelming, you can use these tips to ground and settle yourself, to re-establish what your priorities are, and to give yourself a sense of reward, to change from feeling like the underdog, like you're trying to catch up, like you're trying to get control, to beginning to recognize that you are accomplishing and you are achieving. So here are some, and I'd like you to share in the comments if you've tried them. As I mentioned these 10 tips, have you tried any of them? And were they worth it? And are there any that you would like to try? Feel free to mention it in the comments. The first one is simplify your to-do list. Do you have a to-do list? Do you have one that you hold in your mind? Do you have one that you write down? Do you each day have a list of things you want to do so that you will remember your essentials, remember the things that are important, prioritize, and have a sense of accomplishment and achievement? That's really important. Well, if you are beginning to struggle with a sense of overwhelm and you use a to-do list, well done for doing that. Regulate the list and begin to reduce it to 3 essential things, 3 things that you need to do on that particular day. Release one task, okay? Just let one of them go. You've got this one. Thank you, Lena. That's wonderful. And so on a day when you feel overwhelmed, let some of them go and try to choose 3 priorities, okay? So if you have a list of things to do and it's got 10 things, choose 3 priorities on that list. Maybe look through the list and put an asterisk, a little star, beside the ones, the 3 things that you really want to do. Those three things that are the most important. Do you step outside for fresh air? That's really important. Do you know that fresh air regulates your nervous system? Is that something that you do? Let me know in the comments. And when was the last time that you stepped outside just to breathe? I did that this morning. I stepped outside just to breathe, just to water the plants, just to spend a little time with them, and to make sure that they were not undernourished, underhydrated. When was the last time you stepped outside and just breathed? That is a wonderful grounding. You say, your life has not been the same since you taught me. Ah, that's awesome. That's so lovely to hear, Lina. Thank you so much. Wow. Absolutely brilliant. And some of these tips, they're simple, but they are life transforming. It's like that little ripple that begins in the pond. It starts off small and it can grow bigger and bigger and bigger and have a tremendous effect on other areas of your life. These may sound like simple things to do, but you know something? The greatest wisdom is often hidden right under your nose. It's the little things. So have you stepped outside and breathe? Just taken the opportunity to have fresh air, just to get a breath, just to stand there, maybe look up at the clouds and just observe them. I was walking yesterday and I said to my niece, "Look at the clouds. They look different today." And we were observing them. We were observing the different shapes and the density of them. Have you done that lately? Because if you haven't, that's a wonderful way to get grounded, even for 5 minutes. Let me know in the comments if you're going to try. Do you think you might try this? Do let me know. What about putting your hand on your heart when you feel extremely overwhelmed? Now, I'm in the room where my sauna is, okay? This is the room that houses my sauna. I'll never forget one day being in my sauna and feeling completely overwhelmed. I'd literally gone in the sauna to escape the world, to escape the tremendous pressure I was on because I had a relative who was struggling with their mental health. And I had made myself, what was the word? I had just allowed them to have all of me. I'd poured my whole self into that situation. And I was so drained. There was next to nothing of me left. I was shaky. I was unstable. I was anxious. Oh, there was nothing much left. And that's the thing about your emotional cup. When you pour of yourself into other people, your emotional cup is emptying and you need to refill it. And I remember on that particular day, I said, right, I've organized for somebody else to go to the hospital. I'm not going to the hospital today. I'm going to step back. I'm going to go into the sauna. I'm going to relax and I'm going to ground and recover. And so I went into the sauna, and from the sauna, I heard the phone ringing. And I just remember everything in me went, no, no, no. And I answered the phone. I picked it up and there was nothing left in me. I said, what is it? And the person on the other end was shocked and disappointed and quite surprised. I said, what is it? And I just needed to top up my cup. It was so empty. There was nothing there. I'd slept in the hospital. I'd literally stayed there the night. I'd been at the hospital for about 4 days. There was nothing left of me, honestly. I was so drained. And so I just sat there and I couldn't find myself. I couldn't pull myself back. It just wasn't me. I said, what is it? I was so distressed. And the person kind of gave me, they told me what they'd called for. And I gave them a response and I hung up. And I thought, I don't know this version of myself. I don't know this version of me. And if you've ever poured yourself out into supporting and helping somebody else because they really couldn't do for themselves, you may be able to understand and identify with what I'm talking about. And maybe you're at that place where you need to pour back into yourself to find yourself again. You can do this. You can. I did, and you can. One of the steps to take is to put your hand on your heart and to tell yourself, I'm safe, I'm doing my best. And that was what I told myself on that day. I'd love you to try it now. Just place your hand on your heart, regardless of whether you're stressed or not. It's a wonderful thing to do. Just put your hand on your heart and say, I am safe, I'm doing my best. Did you feel that slight change, that slight shift, that slight transformation? You feel your heart beating under your hand. Feel your body becoming calm as you reassure yourself that you're safe and you're doing your best, you're going to be okay. Because one of the things that went through my mind at the time when I was in that sauna taking that call was the way I was so stressed. I wonder if my heart was going to hold out. My heart was just beating so furiously. So when you feel stressed and overwhelmed, if you ever find yourself in that place, I'm safe. I'm doing my best. Content yourself with that. What about turning off the background noise? There is silence and healing. They work really well together. Healing can be found in silence. Is there a noise that you could eliminate today so that you can refresh, so that you can be restored, so you can recover, so that you can top up your emotional cup? Because we're giving all the time from our emotional cup. We constantly need to restore. Sometimes we're giving to others, sometimes to ourselves, we give back, but we need to restore. Is there a noise that you could eliminate today? Might it be the TV, the phone? Let me know in the comments if there's a noise that you think, Jeanette, now you talk about that, now you come to mention it. Yeah, there's that noise I'm getting a little bit annoyed by. It's becoming a little bit draining. What might that be? Could it be the noise of social media for a little bit? Maybe an hour of social media after this, of course. Could that be what it is? Have a think about it. A noise you can eliminate. And Lina says, I'm going to do the outside breathing today. I did in the afternoon yesterday with bare feet as well. Oh, that's awesome. You are grounding like a G, honestly. That's brilliant. How wonderful. You will feel the benefits. How about hydrating? My daughter said to me, Mum, when you're sleeping in a room, your breath that you're letting out is releasing a lot of moisture into the air. I think she said it was 2 pints or something of moisture per person. It was a lot. I said to her, write that down and keep it. That's really interesting. Her issue is having damp in her home. But she was sharing that this breathing brings moisture into our environment, which can cause condensation, and it can add to problems we might have with a home that's already filled with moisture, too much moisture. And I thought, look at that. There's a direct correlation between the fact that when we're sleeping and we're breathing, we are releasing moisture, and we need that back. We need to hydrate. So, what about drinking a glass of water slowly? That's really healthy and very grounding. That explains the bubbles in the water beside the bed. Isn't it smart? Really smart. So drink a glass of water to hydrate. And most people recommend you do that first thing in the morning and that water be room temperature. So room temperature water. If you've got filtered water, just at room temperature. It doesn't have to be cold water through the fridge or water that has been chilled and cooled. Remember always in grounding to replace I can't with I am learning to. No, there ain't nothing you can't do. If you practice and rehearse and learn to do it, you can do most anything that you desire to do. So don't begin to tell yourself, I can't. That's really powerless language. Let's use more powerful language. Let's speak it into our spirit, into our whole being. I'm learning how. That's what's really important, is the fact that you're applying yourself to learning how. Not that you're telling yourself, I can't. Why? Because you can. Eventually you can. You'll get there. There are so many things you may not know how to do now, but you will be able to do them in future. I would have said, I can't go live on YouTube, but I can, and I did, and I am. Been here for almost 20 minutes now, and it's been wonderful. Speak kindly to yourself. This is how you speak kindly. This is how you empower yourself. What's one kind thing you can say to yourself today? What's one compliment that you can give yourself today? I love the Snoop Dogg speech. When he says, I want to thank myself for being myself. I want to thank myself for applying myself. I want to thank myself for, he doesn't use these words exactly, but I'm just paraphrasing. Like, I want to thank myself for getting up in the morning. I want to thank myself for all the time that I've made an effort when I didn't give up. What can you thank yourself for today? Thank yourself for something now. If you want to, share it in the comments. What are you going to thank yourself for? I'm going to thank myself for getting up this morning, for getting out of bed, for getting here, for doing this live, for connecting with you. I'm going to thank myself for preparing my resources and for recognizing that there was going to come a time that they were going to come in useful and that none of my efforts or my energies are ever wasted. And I want to thank myself for being obedient to a wonderful God who guides us and shows us the right direction and the way to go. I'll thank myself for those things. What kind thing will you say to yourself today? Have a think about that. And maybe it's something that you're going to try. Are you used to doing that? Do you speak kindly to yourself? You know, when I speak kindly to my plants, that's when I get the best results. I don't do it to manipulate them, but I just, oh, plants and nature, they are so, it's so amazing. It's almost mind blowing. When I speak to the rose tree and I say, wow, look at you. You are so beautiful. Look at these beautiful roses that you're producing. They are amazing. I notice it just produces more. And when I speak to the mint tree and the mint plants, they produce more. And Lila says, I thank myself for showing up for myself in trust, alignment, and guidance for God. And I want to say, Lina, also thank yourself. You showed up here today, and this is something you have done for yourself. So important. I tell my wellness clients this all the time that amongst the things you do for yourself or that you have done that you can feel proud of is the fact that you made an appointment with me, a wellness appointment, and you made it to the appointment, and we've had this experience together. And they say, yeah, they realize, yes, they showed up for themselves. However difficult things were, however challenging they were, they showed up. And Lina has shown up for herself. Peace, love, and light to you. Lina's amazing. What about the way in which you move your body? What about stretching, walking, swaying? Do you know that that reconnects you with the present? It reconnects you with right where you are. What I mean by that, it takes you out of a funk. It takes you out of a bad space. It takes you out of thoughts about the past, thoughts of being hurt, thoughts of being used, thoughts of being manipulated, thoughts of being tricked, deceived, taken for granted, thoughts of mistakes you've made, thoughts of things that could have gone differently, thoughts of different pathways you could have taken, different choices, different options, variables, things that came up, things that didn't go well, things that are oppressing and draining you. When you start to move, you come into the present. That's why that movement is so important. I'm really into the sound of the healing bells at the moment. They mean a lot to me because that vibrational sound brings me into the present. It takes me away in quiet times from any negative thoughts, any anxieties, any criticisms. I can be hard on myself sometimes. Maybe you know how that feels. Maybe you expect a lot of yourself and you're hard on yourself when you don't deliver. I am a little bit like that. However, movement, activity, gentle movement reconnects you with the present. It helps you to acknowledge I'm here and I'm here, I'm right here now. And those issues are not here with me right now. What am I going to do right here in the moment, in this time, to transform, change, and make life different? Limit your exposure to triggers. Don't forget to let me know in the comments if you're considering involving yourself in any of these. Lina is already doing movement. Lina is going outside, she's grounding, she's standing in the soil, she's earthing. So important, absolutely wonderful. But would you consider stretching, maybe going for a class, maybe doing yoga if you fancy, something of that nature? I think they have Pilates as well. What about limited exposure to stress triggers, things that stress you out? I removed myself from somebody on social media. I decided not to follow this person anymore because I discovered that actually she was a trigger of negativity for me, although it wasn't very apparent. When I started to read between the lines, I realized I never felt uplifted after watching one of her lives. I never felt any better about anything. I didn't see any humor in it. It wasn't fun. And so I stopped following her. Now she's entrenched in a social media skirmish which is connected to everything about her personality. I know I made the right decision. Is there anyone that you need to separate from? Could it be the news? Overexposure to the news can be very draining. It can make us anxious, really scared. It's important to know the highlights. We kind of do want to know what's going on in our world, but overexposure can be awful. I was reading the newspaper the other day, page to page, and I read 8 negative stories, 8 sad stories that didn't have a happy ending. And that was basically the whole contents of the newspaper. The only encouraging stuff was some stuff about dentistry, which was actually advertising on the sort of the end pages, and stuff about property and people who had bought properties and made their homes beautiful. But that was advertising. I recognized again, as if I didn't know in the first place, that the news can be very depressing and you don't want to overexpose yourself to it. We used to listen to the news every evening at dinner. And one day I stood up and I just turned it off. I thought, this is enough. We don't need this. It's depressing. It's depressing me. It must be depressing the children. It must be making them anxious and fearful and concerned about their futures. And so we started listening to music instead. We started listening to Heart FM or any cheerful music that was available, reflective music, even classical music. Classical music is a wonderful stimulus. And so I would encourage you not to overexpose yourself to the news. Get to grips with what's going on, the central news. Always stay on top of the politics, but don't get too entrenched in it. It's very depressing. In addition, draining people. Facts, Luna says, I don't even watch the news. I know it's not good, but part of your self care. You know, it is good for you to disconnect from the news. And from time to time, just look up what the news headlines are and what's happening. Just the headlines. You don't have to go into all of that ongoing negativity that they choose to share. What about draining people? Are there any people that, as I mentioned, draining people, you thought of? I know you're a nice person and you don't necessarily want to separate yourself from people. You don't want to leave them isolated. You don't want to leave them feeling as if you're not there for them. You don't want them to feel unsupported. I know. But sometimes by stepping away from people who drain your energy, you give them the opportunity to look at themselves, to examine themselves, to sit with themselves and to consider where they're going wrong. And then they might change. They might begin to recover and change their attitude and their behavior. They might become better company, more uplifting, more optimistic, more hopeful, more supportive. Have a think about it. You see, by constantly exposing yourself to them, you're telling them that what they're doing is right, that the negativity, the criticism, the harsh behavior is okay, it's acceptable by you. And they are able to suppress any desire to change, any desire to question themselves, because you're approving of it, and you're approving of it by allowing yourself to be exposed to it. So it's really important that where negative people are concerned, we put some space between us and them, to allow them to recognize that we don't want to be in their company for a while. We want to separate. We don't want to be a part of that. Also, what about clutter? What about disorder and some chaos? Having that around you is very draining. It's very stressful, very distressing, very powerless. What about if you made a decision to clear a little bit of stuff away? Just a bit. You don't have to do everything at once, but you made a decision to clear away something today, to tidy something that wasn't where it was supposed to be, and to move it out of the way. And how about if you allowed that to have a snowball effect? You know, it's really interesting that you begin with one thing or clearing one corner and it will begin to snowball. It will begin to grow like a ball of snow rolling down a hill. It will begin to gather momentum and weight and more snow. And you'll begin to get the taste for it. You'll begin to say, I like that. That looks good now. I feel so much better, much more empowered. I think next I'm going to do another area. Don't overdo it. Don't set yourself a goal of clearing everything in one day. It can be really overwhelming. And it didn't take one day to accumulate. It didn't take one day to grow into what it is. Just do a bit at a time and don't add to it as you go along. And eventually it will be cleared. What about setting yourself some gentle boundaries? Gentle, loving boundaries. What about saying, I'm going to wind down in the evening. I'll give myself some time to get some good rest because I'm tired and I deserve to get good rest. I deserve to get refreshed. Although I might not fall asleep immediately, I'm going to extend my bedtime and just have a shower or a bath, get into bed, take a book with me, something to look at, and begin to relax. That's the boundary I'm going to set for myself right now. I'm not going to do this forever, but I think for the next week or so, I need a little bit of extra self-care, need a little bit of extra love. What about saying, "Do you know what? I'm going to save a little bit of money and go and get myself a pedicure. I'd really love a pedicure. I'd love to have somebody take care of my feet. And I've got some hard skin that I'd like to go away as well. I think my feet could be a lot better than they are. I'm going to save up, put some money to one side, and when I've got enough, I'm going to go and have a pedicure and let somebody look after me." It's always a wonderful thing to do. What about limiting your exposure to things that trigger you? By now, you should know what will trigger you, what will make you unhappy. Limit your exposure to it. Either things or people that bring you to a place where you don't feel at ease, you don't feel joyful, you don't feel happy, you just don't feel good. Disconnect yourself. Don't watch things that make you feel super sad. You may have a fixation with the end times. You may have a fixation with people who can take care of themselves without electricity, and they do all sorts of other things, and they know how to start a fire without matches. Do you know what I mean? You may have a fixation with it, but if it's beginning to make you feel anxious about the future, and you begin to think, I wonder if that's going to happen, if the electricity is really going to go out, these people are firmly convinced that everything's going to go off. And that's why they have pantries. They are learning how to make a fire for themselves, keep themselves warm. They're stocking up. If that's beginning to give you a growing sense of unease and panic, stop watching it for a bit. Don't expose yourself to it. If you're watching programs where you're seeing people being unalived, and you're beginning to feel a little bit, oh, I don't know, it's getting a bit cringy now, stop watching. Detach yourself from it. It's not helping, okay? It's making you feel uncomfortable. It's triggering you. It may not always start off like that. Sometimes you choose a series and you think, oh, this looks like it'll be really good. This is going to be really entertaining. And as you're watching it, you begin to realize there's a theme that's going through it that's making you feel pretty uncomfortable. And you might have to revise your decision and say, oh, no, I don't want to watch this. This isn't the way I thought it was going to be. Just because you've put it on your list doesn't mean it has to stay there. Remove it and choose something else. You don't have to stick with it. I'm thinking about a particular thing I used to watch. And towards the end, I was like, oh no, I don't want to see this anymore. It was the guy who worked for, I can't remember his name. And it was his name. It wasn't Denver. What was his name? He was the guy that was going around unaliving criminals. Okay. That was his thing. To unalive wicked people. And the series was named after him. Can't remember his name right now. And I decided I don't want to see this anymore. He used to put plastic everywhere to cover up the crime. And he was a crime specialist. And he used to do all the blood splatter patterns. Okay. If you've ever watched it, you know what I'm talking about. And I thought, I don't want to see this anymore. This is getting really dark. I'm not enjoying this. Is horrible. And it just became, oh, and I just thought, I don't want to see this. And so I stopped watching. Even though I hadn't completed the series, I said, that's enough for me. And I stopped. I have a fixation with prison programs. I love prison programs. But if I'm watching so many of them that I begin to get depressed about the state of prisons and how people are coping and their mental health, I'll stop watching because it's triggering me. It's making me a little bit unhappy. It's making me feel a little bit down. I don't want to feel that way. So I'll stop watching. Exercise that control over what you're watching. Don't feel because you put it on the list, you've got to stick with it. Nope, you can delete it. You can remove from your list, okay, and separate yourself from it. You realize the movies and the shows that bring unaliving, bring negativity and low vibration. They do. They often really do. The other thing is they can make you feel uncomfortable in your environment. I remember watching certain things and thinking, I've got to check the locks. I've got to make sure the doors are locked. What did that? It was what I was watching. It made me feel vulnerable. It made me aware of criminality and negative things that could happen. And the odds are it will never happen to you or me. It won't. The odds are so short. But what happens is that when you're watching certain things, it makes you concerned about your safety. That's unhealthy. Stop watching if that's the case. Journal one calming word. You know, in your journal, if you are a journaler, put one calming word like peace, love, stillness, joy, your own anchor word, a word that you go back to. I love writing brainstorms. I love brainstorming. So I'll put that word in the middle of the page, joy. And each day I could draw a line away from that word with something that gives me joy. And if I want to ground, should I say, I'll go back to the word joy and look at the things that I've drawn away from that word joy that bring me that level of joy. So each day, as I look at it, I could find another thing that brings me joy: the flowers, the plants, my granddaughter, the family, you know, peace, joy. Find a grounding word, one that works for you. Does it feel that everything's too crazy? There's too much movement at the moment. Everything's moving, you're moving, life's moving. It's becoming so stressful. Then maybe a good word would be stillness and things you can do when you are still. Pray, meditate, read, stillness. Okay. You're right. You're on TikTok too much. I need to limit screen time and sit in silence for a while or read a book. Wonderful. It's lovely just to sit in silence for 5 minutes, even complete silence, nothing turned on, and just to sit and to be in that peace, just to allow your mind to keep ticking over. It's absolutely wonderful. It allows you to de stress. A thought might come, and you're going to be able to think that whole thought through to completion, even if it's something that's negative that comes from something of the past. You'll be able to think it all through to a positive place because you are in a positive mindset. And as you sit there, you see this, Lina, is what, or should I say eternity, apologies, eternity. This is what helps us to get through a lot of the distress that people experienced during the lockdown. Having that time to sit, to be at peace, but nothing to do, left a lot of people with lots of things they had buried surfacing during the lockdown. And it's important that from time to time we do that kind of cleanse, we do that kind of declutter, we do that addressing of the things that we may be suppressing within our emotions. Things happen and we may move on at that time. But just by sitting in the quiet, we give ourselves the opportunity to think about them and to maybe make a decision, maybe decide what we're going to do about it moving forward. Maybe at the time it happened, we couldn't make the decision. We weren't clear on the response. And so we suppressed it and went off and did something else. Now, in the peace and quiet, it comes back to us. And we make a decision in the calm, in the peace, and in the quiet about what we're going to do about it. We could also light a candle or touch something soft. That's so important. Your six senses are amazing. Don't forget the power of your sense of touch, your sense of sight, your sense of smell, the power of a scented candle, the power of a diffuser, the power of, I can't remember what they're called, the sticks. I have them in here, my sauna's here, of the sticks that you can burn, the incense, the power of that. Don't forget the power of perfume, the power of fragrances. Don't forget that power. Don't forget the power of a soft surface, something furry, something comforting, a warm blanket. Don't forget the power of that as well. A warm coat, a cardigan, something that gives you a hug. Don't forget the power of that. Reconnect with your senses to stay in the present. I'd love us to do a breathing exercise together. Would you enjoy that? Let's pause and ground ourselves in breathing. We are going to inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4. And we'll repeat this 4 times. And what we're going to do is every time we exhale, breathe out, we are going to let go of tension. So let's do that now. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And release that tension. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale that tension, 1, 2, 3, 4. And inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Releasing that tension. And inhale and hold. And exhale, breathing out that tension. And inhale the last time. And hold. Exhale, releasing tension. Close your eyes gently. Imagine you're standing barefoot in a forest. The ground beneath you is steady and warm. You feel supported by the earth. A gentle breeze brushes your face. With each breath you breathe, you release the tension. You're calm, you're safe, you are at home in your body. I'm going to count you down from 5 to 1, and when you open your eyes, you will feel refreshed, relaxed, no tension. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now that we've grounded ourselves, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's take a moment to reflect. Please feel free to answer these questions in the comments. What's one thing that you can let go of today to feel more grounded? One thing you can let go of today to feel more grounded. If you simply have a one thing, just double tap the hearts. Thank you. So that I can see those and I know you're connecting, I know you're thinking, and I know that you're looking for one thing you can let go of today to feel more grounded. Awesome. When you feel overwhelmed, what's one habit you want to reach for instead of panic? From time to time, we all feel overwhelmed. Let's not deny it. What's one thing you'd like to reach for instead of panicking? Have a think about it. One thing you'd reach for instead of panic. And the one thing eternity is going to let go of is anxiety. And you're going to reach for peace instead of anxiety. Thank you, eternity. Thank you. That's awesome. Are you okay for me to move on to the next thing now? Because I'm wondering if I'm going too fast. Here's my last question. What space, word, or sound helps you to feel safe and calm? It could be a space, a word, or a sound that helps you to feel calm. Letting go of the I can't phrase and reaching for more self care. I love that. Yep, I'm learning to. I'm learning to. And love, wonderful. That word helps you to feel safe and calm. Wonderful. Love. And in your journal, if you journal, Lina, write the word love and coming away from the word love, write where you find it. Where do you find love in life? Just draw a line away from it, like a brainstorm, and write where you find it. I find love in so many places. You know, when I go to the plants and I say, would you like to touch my face? And they touch me. And the trees, I find love. It's an acceptance. It's a form of love, an amazing connection. When my granddaughter hugs me, I find love. I find love in a cup of tea because it's the love I'm giving back to myself. It might sound odd, but I find love there. I find love in hot chocolate, especially if I put nutmeg into it and a pinch of salt, because that's how my grandmother used to make it sometimes. She used to make the cocoa like that. And it just reminds me of that grandmother's love. It's very grounding for me. I figure if my grandmother loved me the way she did, I'm a good person. I've got potential. And she would be proud of me right now. Love, that's such a wonderful word. What an awesome choice of vocabulary. Eternity says the sound for her that helps her to feel safe and calm is the birds singing. You are so right. So right. My friend said that when she was doing her, Sacred Circle of Sound, I've mentioned her on TikTok, when she was doing her session, she had a session at the weekend, well, Friday actually, no, Thursday. She did a special session on Thursday in a park that's local to us, near Brixton. So she was there and it was an open air event. And she said, as she was playing her crystal bells, chimes, the birds started moving overhead. And it was as if they started joining in. And she said there were a load of parakeets that came, and it was as if they were migrating towards the sound. She said it was the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful experience. And she said it was just awesome. And, she was just transfixed by that experience. Birds sing in safe spaces. Birds sing and respond in places where they are safe. And so listening to the birds singing is definitely grounding. That is all about peace because the birds are sharing the peace that they have. I love when the biblical narrative talks about the birds in the trees. When I hear the birds where I live opposite a park, when I hear the birds singing, a lot of the time I don't hear it. It's happening, but I hear other sounds. I hear the trains, I hear other things. But when the birds get through and I do hear them, I'm reminded of the fact that I can be calm, I can be peaceful, because the biblical narrative encourages us to know that the birds relax and trust God, and so they can sing and have peace. What about us? Why can't we trust? Why can't we have that peace? Thank you so much for sharing your answers. Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful. And before we close, I'd like to share an affirmation with you. Okay. And the affirmation is what I'd like you to carry with you today. And that is, I'm allowed to pause. I'm allowed to protect my peace. Eternity says, I listen to a channel on YouTube that plays birds singing, water flowing, and bees buzzing continuously for around 8 hours. That's awesome. That is so calming. I used to listen to whales, I believe it was whales, and water. I used to listen to that at one point. When I had insomnia, I used to listen to those sounds as well, and they would help me to be calm, just to be a lot more calmer and a lot more peaceful. There's definitely something in it. So the affirmation for today is I'm allowed to pause. I'm allowed to protect my peace. And maybe we can pause and listen to the birds singing, the water flowing, the bees buzzing, the whale song. There's a sound called white noise, the white noise. Whatever helps, whatever works for us. Meditation. But we are allowed to pause and we are allowed to protect our peace. We are allowed to say stop. We are allowed to step back. We are allowed not to make ourselves feel continuously overwhelmed, but to take control and to say, right, I need to disconnect from this right now. I'm allowed to protect my peace. So I'm going to repeat it once more and you can repeat it after me. I am allowed to pause. I am allowed to protect my peace. Awesome. If this live helps you to feel more grounded and it helps you to feel more freed up, then please give it a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm pretty convinced you have. The live is potentially not going to be saved, unfortunately. I'm still working on getting the right internet connection. Last week's one, it's kind of saved somewhere I can't access it. So the live is the live. But I will be back next week with another session. And if you would like more sessions on calming the mind, let me know. Okay. And if you'd like to request any sessions, make a comment on any of my videos that appear here to let me know. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Have an awesome day. Peace, love, and light to you. Bye for now. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, Eternity. Bye, Lina. Bye, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you. I'll see you on Monday at 9 o'clock if you can make it. Bye for now. Oh, before I go, does anyone have a Facebook account? Does anyone have Facebook? I'm curious to know if you have Facebook. I have a funny feeling you might, because I also have Facebook is the last space I need to know. That's fine. You're not going to miss anything. Don't worry. It's fine. Lina does. Okay. Well, I'm going to look at doing a live on my Facebook account because a couple of people who follow me there have constantly said, you don't go live on Facebook and I don't have TikTok. So I'm going to look at expanding into Facebook. But I want to say thank you so much for making the journey from TikTok to here. It was everything. Thank you. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and light to you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye for now. Bye bye.